Sarvebhya Namaskaraha. A warm welcome to everyone joining us for the Vedic Astrology Masterclass Series 2025. It's wonderful to see many of you joining us every weekend and continuing this journey of learning together. I'm Dr. Archana Murthy, your host for today's session. If you're joining this series for the first time today, welcome. Our masterclass journey began on October 4th, and we have already completed around 7 fascinating sessions from conjugality and remedies, Devalya Vastu, Chidra Dasha, Janma Lagna, many of such sessions. All the past sessions are available right here on this channel for you to explore. We continue this series in honor of Dr. B.V. Raman's 113th Jayanti, a true pioneer who transformed the way Jyotisha is understood across the world. Through his tireless work, he demonstrated that astrology is not superstition, but a structured, logical, and deeply spiritual science. His writings, research, and teachings continue to inspire generations of students and practitioners, reminding us that sincere study and clarity of thought are the foundations of true understanding. With that same spirit of learning and dedication, let's move into today's session. One I'm sure you will offer deep insights to both learners and practitioners alike. In today's session, we will explore how the moon's nakshatra reveals our career path and inner potential. As the scriptures remind us, Chandrama Manaso Jataha. The moon is born from the mind, and it mirrors our thoughts, desires, and choices. Understanding the moon's nakshatra therefore becomes a key to understanding our natural direction in life. It's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Srimati Lalitha Donatella, a Vedic astrologer with an advanced degree and over several years of professional experience.
Hello, Dr. Archana. I'm very happy to be here again. And also, I'm happy to honor, we are here to honor Dr. B.V. Raman's 113th Jayanti. So that's a very special occasion.
Yes, indeed, a very special occasion. A little more introduction on you, ma'am. Lalitha ji is a regular contributor, excuse me. Lalitha ji is a regular contributor to the Astrological E-magazine, the magazine that was founded by Dr. B.V. Raman. Through her articles and teachings, she offers a refreshing and integrated approach to Jyotisha, treating the principles of Parashara, Gemini, and Varahamira as parts of a single cohesive system of analysis. Her perspective helps students and practitioners move beyond fragmented techniques and gain a deeper, more unified understanding of astrology. In today's session, Lalitha ji will demonstrate how the moon's nakshatra can be used as a key tool in career analysis. She will show how to identify career patterns, time major career transitions, and blend nakshatra insights with divisional charts for a more complete and accurate reading. This class moves beyond theory. It focuses on practical methods that participants can directly apply to chart interpretation, making it a valuable learning experience for everyone here. And I know with my interactions with Lalitha ji, she's a very passionate Vedic astrologer. So we are delighted to have you, ma'am, with us today. And it's an honor to welcome you to the Masterclass series. And we are all eager to learn from your experience and insights. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Archana. Beautiful presentation. Yes, so we're talking about the moon. The moon is the mind principle. It is said that the way you think, that's the way you are. That's how your life is going to be. And the sages, the ancient sages of India have explained that very, very well through Jyotish and the other sciences. So again, Vedic astrology is not entertainment as some other systems might be. I have not investigated too much. I've studied a little bit Western astrology in the beginning, but very soon I switched to the Vedic system because it resonated and it was so easy to make predictions, for at least it seemed for me. And so we're going to talk about the constellations. You know, the moon wobbles, the moon is wobbly and keeps moving and changing the phases, the lunar phases. But I was thinking about a time when in the scriptures, in the Indian scriptures, in Indian wisdom tradition, it is said that the moon at some point was stable. It was fixed. It was in Rohini Nakshatra. So we're talking about a different yuga, a different time on the earth plane, because the sages they don't use just thought forms or hyperboles. They literally said how the cosmology was. So they said the moon is in Rohini. So at that time, the moon wasn't wobbly. And then we have a myth that says that the moon was cursed. Okay, let's not talk about that myth because it's a little long to explain. But so the moon moves so much, and as it crosses the ecliptic, it goes through the nakshatras. Nakshatra in Sanskrit means, let's say loosely, constellation, because not every nakshatra is just one star. It's a group of stars. So constellations is probably a good approximation, but there isn't a word in our language, one that I like particularly. So I'm going to refer to the constellations of the moon as nakshatras. Also in Sanskrit, when you say the word, it literally needs that thing you mentioned. So when you say nakshatra, literally you're evoking that energy of the stars. And it's very exciting for me to think that way. The Tamil language is also that way, that the word and the object, the sound and the object are the same. So I love to mention the Rig Veda because it's the most ancient Veda, and also Maharishi Parashara, everybody probably here knows the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra because it's a good resource for us. And they both mention the moon as the most important element in a birth chart for happiness, also wealth, and also beautiful emotions, deep feelings, and overall good relationships. Yes, Venus is also the karaka, or the significator, as they say in India, of relationship. But the moon is very, very important because it gives us what we call emotional intelligence. So, of course, it's connected also to the way we want to work and the way we hope to make a great living, both fulfilling and also financially satisfying through our career or business or orientation in looking for a job. So I've looked specifically at I'd say career, but we can apply that same principle of the moon and the planet that governs the moon. So when the moon is in Aries, for example, Aries is ruled by Mars, so there will be an influence of Mars. But if the moon is in Ashvini, Ketu will be the planet that gives the emotional filter to that person as they look for a career or a job that satisfies the mind and also the emotions. And eventually will become more practical, of course. Then the financial aspect is very important. But the emotional filters I found are the most important. For example, there are 3 types of Aries, right? And more through the padas. But so Ketu for Ashvini, then we have Bharani, Venus, and then we have Kritika, which is a much harsher energy, right? So somebody Bharani will love everything Venus. And the pada is important because, for example, I think 3rd pada is Venus, so Venus, and a 4th pada is Mars, so Venus, Mars. So even the padas can give an imprint, but we're going to stay simply with the general planet ruling a nakshatra. So let's dive in. I like to mention again the Chandramana. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The moon is divine. And so the entire zodiac, we have to explain to those who have not heard this, maybe they love to hear this. There's an archetype that it gives us, it's like we are living in a matrix, some people say. It's a Vishnu's dream, we say in Vedic astrology, right? At least that's what an American scholar said. The universe is Vishnu's dream. So Vishnu's body is, every body part represents a sign, an astrological sign. And so we refer to Vishnu because his body and his consciousness are very, very important. So we would say the moon is the mind of the Purusha. So in modern time, more modern times, originally that was the cosmic being. Then now we refer to him as Vishnu. So that's a name everybody probably has heard at some point. Okay, so the moon constellation. Next, please. Next. Thank you, Girish. Okay, the moon's constellation or nakshatra has a huge influence on our mindset, right? As we have seen. Emotions and also the entire life is colored by the moon and the mind and how we see things, our perceptions, how reflective and perceptive we are. And so these constellations of the moon will have a special part in choosing our lives and in understanding life, because there is an archetype behind every nakshatra. And that archetype is a being, maybe a god, we can call him, or archetype is also fine. And this person will live life according to that archetype and also the qualities of the other planets around, of course, and the planetary ruler of the sign. But let's look at particularly at the moon and nakshatras. So an example I brought here is Chitra. Chitra is Spica in astronomy, and it's a bright star. It's like a jewel, like a gem, right? And people in the degrees of Libra, this is the example I brought because Chitra is also in Virgo. In Libra, the person will have incredible good taste. They love everything luxurious, beautiful. They want to have a very pleasant life. They love diplomacy. And usually they live in a beautiful home. Some people will be architects, literally because the archetype is Vishvakarma. Vishvakarma is the architect to the gods. And so that person will be influenced by these architects of the gods. And in Virgo, there's a little bit of difference, but the archetype is the same. So there'll be a more intellectual approach, etc. But pretty much that archetype will be visible. Next, please. So the deeper meaning, I associate the moon with the Divine Mother. So in this case, because I've been initiated in the Sri Vidya, and I've been my teacher, Dr. Pillai, has often talked about Lalita Tripura Sundari, the Divine Mother, the Supreme Goddess, as the overlord of the moon in many ways, even though some people say, no, it's Mars, and she's a right goddess. Okay, I see as the moon. Also, the full moon is ruled by her, and also the fifth waxing moon is ruled by her. And they're both very auspicious lunar phases. So the moon is deeply connected with this Divine Mother, and she wants you to be happy. The Divine Mother is like, well, the being who wants you to have everything you want, wants you to satisfy you, to make you, of course, there's karma and there are choices that we make. But in general, the divine, right? I believe in God. Or you can call it the universe, the feminine aspect of the universe, if you don't like that word. And the Divine Mother rules the moon. So the emotional patterns and the intuitive style that you choose will be good for you to give you an orientation. So don't think that what you want is impossible, because what I've studied in the Siddha, Tamil Siddha lineage, everything is possible. We have mantras to remind us that mantras are sound waves, thought forms that awaken a different kind of knowledge in us. It's probably inborn, but we are awakening, activating parts of the brain as we start thinking this way. Everything is possible, and the goddess wants to give you everything. So once you have noticed that, or you accept that principle, maybe it will be easier for you to choose a profession that gives you joy, good emotions, and maybe you will get along better with co-workers, etc., instead of following the modern way, competing and trying to become better than that person, which is limited, right? Why do you want to compare yourself to another person? You're unique, you're divine. Aham Brahmasmi, said the sages of India. So I am God. I am Brahma. So why limit yourself and compete with anybody, right? So choose something that gives you joy. The nakshatra will give you indications of what you really like. And for example, if usually as children we're very pure. So as a child, if you love to draw or you loved a musical instrument, so why leave it as an interest, some hobby, instead of using that as your career? If it gives you so much joy, you'll be very good at your career if you use your passions, your joy, your emotions. And the moon is associated with such states of mind. So choose the joy, choose what gives you really fulfillment, and the Divine Mother will be there for you. So maybe this will help if you have faith, or if that doesn't resonate, think that as you think, the universe will serve you or help you. I don't know your relationship with the universe if you don't like the word divine, but in that case, just think that your thoughts matter. You're creating as you go. All right, so with the energy of the goddess, choose a profession that really, really makes you excited. And then when you're fulfilled, it's easier to follow your dharma, right? It's easier to identify your purpose. And when you're following your purpose in life, then dharma becomes a natural. You want to do the right thing, to help others, etc. Okay, so let's look a little bit deeper. We have seen that the moon represents the perceptions, the lifestyle, the wealth also, because the way you perceive life, if you think life is hard and you cannot make enough money, etc., you're going to experience that. So, of course, we have to watch what we choose and our perceptions, and accordingly, if we want to have a good life, we need to start believing that good things are coming. There are Siddha mantras that say good things will happen. It seems like a small thing, Narbhavi. Good things will happen. With that mindset, you can go ahead and be very, very successful. Good things will happen to me all the time. And it's better than say, oh, I can't do that, because everything is possible when we have mantras from the Siddhas. And when I say Siddhas, I mean yogis and sages, but you can follow another tradition and you'll find the same divine principles. Okay, so you have a lot of power through these principles. So they're not just pretty inspirational quotes. They literally can guide your life, and you can get what you want. So it's a win-win. All right, so the moon makes you receptive to others' needs. What does that mean for a leader or somebody working in an office? Maybe you're a manager or even a CEO. So a CEO that is all I, me, mine, and myself, I doubt that today we'll have a lot of success. It's not like that anymore. Even today, who is getting ahead? So getting ahead, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but who is being really successful? There are people who have emotional intelligence, who understand that the person will be more productive and more friendly with others if they are treated in a certain way, if there's friendliness, respect, etc. So I believe we're going towards a work model that will be more ethical and more inclusive of the needs of the person. We cannot exploit people. There were times I would listen on a corporate, call, company-wide call. Everybody sounded depressed and scared. Things are changing, and now new leaders are understanding that that is not productive. People will get sick or they will quit. So happiness and the moon are very, very important. And we have Maharishi Mahesh Yogi who said, in life you have to be very, very, very happy. because if you're miserable, what is your life or work or relationship going to be? You have to stay very happy and positive, right? So let's look why the moon is even more important. We know we have destiny cycles. We call them dashas in Vedic astrology. And the moon's planet, so the planet that rules that nakshatra of the moon, starts of the destiny cycle. So the Vimshottari dasha is based on that. But there are also other systems. I particularly use Vimshottari. I've looked into others, but that's my favorite. There is the Yogini, the Ashtottari, the Kala Chakra, and these systems also work with the nakshatra and the degree of the moon, right? The degree of that nakshatra. So the planet that rules that nakshatra is very, very important. If you're born in Bharani, again, I start with Aries because it's the first sign. I'm not obsessed with Bharani, even though I like Bharani. I would say that you start life in Venus, in the Venus Dasha. It's a total of 20 years, but you may have like 10 years or 5 years, depending on the degree of your moon. So if you're born in Chitra, to use the same example, you're born, your life starts with Mars, that energy. And maybe as a child already, you'll be athletic. I don't know. It depends on the position of Mars and so on. So we'll see that that planet, as I call it, the emotional filter, will be fundamental for you to find a job, a career that's truly satisfying and truly reflects your personality. I wouldn't say your true self, which has been through many, many incarnations. That's the belief we have in Vedic astrology. We come back millions of times, or at least thousands of times. It depends how old the soul is. Okay, so let's go into the D10. What are these D10? What does it mean? These are the what we call divisional charts. We have basic one birth chart, which we call D1. And D10 is associated with the 10th house, right? So it's a refined chart. It's like taking a microscope and going deep, electron microscope, and you go deep and you find the meaning of the house, deeper meanings, and deeper, you can make better predictions, actually, if the time of birth is correct. So this is not for those who just know their day of birth. For the divisional chart, you need the time of birth as close to the accurate as possible when it's possible. But in general, because the nakshatra is quite wide, it doesn't last 5 minutes. So sometimes you can get good results even if the time of birth is close and not perfect, right? Like I have several birth charts here in my case studies that are like 5:30. That 30 tells me the time is not accurate. Usually there's 5:31 and 3 seconds or something like that. But almost no one has that kind of precision in their birth certificate, etc. So don't worry, we can still use the D chart without the seconds. So let's go into the first. Yes, so the D chart shows your level of success, your fame, your professional achievements, even if you're just starting your new job, how you'll be perceived by others, how you'll feel in that job, all those things will be there in the D10. So let's start with the first case study, please. Hedy Lamar, Girish. Next, please. Yes, a little bit ahead. Few more slides. We're going to the first. Yes, this is it. Okay, so she was a great actress, very beautiful, unusually beautiful, everybody. First thing they said about Hedy Lamar, gorgeous, beautiful eyes, beautiful face. So let's look a little bit. So she was born on November 9th, if you want to build a chart, November 9th, 1914 at 7:30 p.m., so 1930 in Vienna, Austria. Okay, so the time of birth seems to be approximate, but it worked. So I tried to use that, and see, this is what happened. So she was known for her intelligence. Not only was she a Hollywood actress, she was also a scientist, although she was not originally trained as a scientist or engineer. She was an inventor, and she and her partner were able to conceive this. She did it in service for her country, for the United States. So they called it a frequency hopping spread spectrum system. It's a mouthful for me. I'm not a scientist. And it was used to prevent jamming, of torpedo signals. So that was used at the time during World War II. Yes. And it was actually a precursor of all this technology. Was then used for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. This is an actress who actually had an influence of what we're using now, what we call our advanced technology. And she was able to have a part in that. So she didn't get recognition in her life, but we'll see that her birth chart shows after death recognition. But still, she was very happy because even though she didn't make a lot of money through that technology, she was able to help her country, and for her it was important. And we see Pusha Nakshatra. So Pusha Nakshatra is ruled by Saturn, and in the D1, Girish, can you please move to the next, yes, thank you. So let's look at our nakshatra. It's Pusha. We're not looking at the padas, just the planet ruling Pusha, which is Saturn, right? So where's Saturn? In the first house. So close to her path, herself, her body. She was taller than average for women at that time. So tall and slim, also slimmer than most Hollywood actresses. And Saturn is retrograde, okay? That we're not looking at that right now, but it's in the first house, right? So it's relevant. It has a big role. And Pusha makes the beautiful face in the second house, gorgeous eyes, etc. We see her beauty in this birth chart. So I believe the time of birth is correct. Then we see Ketu in the third house. She was quite egoless. She had a beautiful manner. She didn't compete with anybody. She was very gentle. So that shows Ketu removing the ego, basically, and from past life knowledge of power, etc. Okay, so why are we looking at this? Now let's look at the D10. Where is Saturn? In the D10, Saturn is in the 11th house, so there's gain through Saturn and Mars in Mercury sign, Virgo, right? So Mars is engineering, technology, and Saturn also ruling Kumbha, Aquarius, also is involved with technology and pioneering projects, also inventions. So there's Rahu, right? Rules the co-ruler of Aquarius. So Saturn can also bring this. And let's read a little bit so I don't lose my train of thoughts. In D1, Saturn is placed in the first house in intelligent Gemini. The ruler is Mercury, which is friendly to Saturn, so it's a good placement. Brings new ideas, innovation, technologies, etc. So the moon is in Cancer, we have seen. So Saturn in Gemini harnesses the energy to structure. Structure is very important for Saturn in Gemini. So we know that Gemini is super intelligent and very changeable. So Saturn brings more structure, grounds the whole sign here because it's in the first house. Okay, so engineering project in D10 because there is Mars. And where's Mercury? Mercury is also in the sign of Mars, Aries. with Jupiter, I think, if I can look back at the chart. Yes, so in the sixth house. So that's also work projects, structured work, diligent work, sixth house, right? With Jupiter. So it's a very good placement in this chart. And we see her inventiveness, her, believe it or not, for an actress. So I don't want to use a platitude, but usually actresses are not inventors. In this case, so we have this unusual combination. So I believe in this case, so we see that in the D10, the planet ruling the nakshatra is doing very well and indicates her inventions. Also, Saturn, we see Venus in the sign of Saturn. Okay. All right, let's go to the next. I wanted to show the emotional filter. So emotional filter, Moon in Pusha, Saturn colors her emotions and work style with what? Saturn's qualities, caution, responsibility, structure, service, because Saturn is very much in service. Then we have steady progress, not super fast, took her a long time, right? Commitment is big with Saturn. Discipline, I like to say discipline with Mars, but also perseverance is a Saturnian quality. And trust in our professional path. So that's the emotional filter that Hedy Lamarr chose. Even I believe, I have never seen a movie with her, but she probably used these qualities also in her profession. So being responsible, on time, and reliable. Okay, so let's go to, so Mercury and Jupiter in D10, I say, because the Mercury rules Virgo, right? That's where the position of Saturn in D10, if you go and look, if you have you made your chart, you can see. So in D10, let's look at the beautiful conjunction Mercury-Jupiter in the sixth. So it's intelligence applied to problem solving and success despite all odds. And it took her a long time to conceive with her partner this technology. All right, so the next case study is quite well known. Jane Goodall, a zoologist and anthropologist. She was born on April 3rd, 1934 at 23:30. At that time, they loved to put this rounded up time. But anyway, so I saw that it worked, at least according to me. You can make up also your own mind, of course. You can make your own. You can also adjust it. I didn't have time to adjust this time of birth. But as I use them as they are, they work. They seem to work very well. Okay, she was a zoologist, so perhaps it was like 23, 29, so that's why it's accurate. She was a zoologist, an anthropologist, expert on chimpanzees, having studied the social and family interactions of wild chimpanzees. So that was her expertise, which also granted her a United Nations Messenger of Peace award. And then we have the moon in Scorpio in Anuradha. So Anuradha is very close to my heart. For some reason, I get a lot of students, clients with Anuradha Nakshatra. It's a Nakshatra of success and also well-rounded. There is emotional sensitivity and loyalty. And Anuradha is ruled by Mitra. So there's a positive outlook, even though it's ruled by Saturn, another Saturn Nakshatra. So also it brings a natural affinity, a love of animals, the welfare of animals. And it's connected with creatures considered mysterious because of the Scorpio influence, right? Everything mysterious. And we have an episode that kind of defined her career for me. So I don't know if that will resonate with you, but this is what I saw in that episode. It was 2016 at the Cincinnati Zoo. And a 3-year-old boy, I believe, fell in a cage where there was a gorilla, a huge gorilla, a grown gorilla. And so all the media jumped, the photo op and also the stories, etc. So it was quite famous, this episode. And so Jane Goodall was among the celebrities that talked about it, and she was an expert, of course, of wild chimpanzees and gorillas. So she knew what she was talking about. But she said, she talked about the tragedy of keeping these intelligent and gender species in a cage. So yes, that's also close to my heart. And I don't like zoos personally, but some people like them. That's also the way we perceive things. So she also said that she didn't care for the child. I felt, being a mom of young children at that time, I felt, oh, she's not talking about the child. So the child, because the gorilla was killed to save the child. But in her point of view, they shouldn't have killed the gorilla. But she never mentioned the 3-year-old baby. So that was not part of her concern. So she was more concerned for the animal. So what I noticed was that she was very much involved in politicized science. So being an expert of this kind of wildlife, she was more into the environmental concern rather than the human point of view. And I thought, this is unusual. So I looked at her planets. What did I see? I saw that she was a political activist primarily because of 3 planets in Aquarius. So Saturn, the planet ruling her nakshatra, is in Aquarius with Mercury and Venus. So her concern was with future generations, but primarily of animals, right? Because that was her expertise, lifetime expertise. And also environmental concerns. So yeah, she was an activist of such these important causes, but it became her focus 100%. She also suffered from a neurological disease. I forget the name, but which made her unable. Often she couldn't recognize faces, human faces. So I felt that was also a way she perceived life that I noticed. I hope I didn't offend anybody with this point of view, but I noticed that both from the planets and also her life and activism, she was just more political than concerned with, than humanitarian, basically. And that worked for her. So let's see the emotional filter. Moon in Anuradha, Saturn, that guides her emotional world with discipline, loyalty, perseverance, and a drive for deep drive for connection. Not really, but in this case, oh yes, it's Scorpio, right? Very emotional, and connection is important. So there's quite a strength. So Anuradha people are very calm outwardly, even though they may have an emotional storm inside, but they're very calm. They have a very calm demeanor, and they form powerful relationships, and they're very patient and determined. But they're usually very successful. If you look around the world, many famous people have Anuradha Nakshatra. Okay, so they are very much into networks and organizations, and they build Saturn, right? Long-term goals. So she's sincerely devoted to research, service, and compassion. She's compassionate, which is seen from Mars and Sun in Pisces. Very emotional, very, very intuitive, very sensitive. But the love is expressed, as I said before, as reform because of the strong influence of Aquarius more. And so she wasn't very emotionally demonstrative I noticed also from interviews, etc. And we see that Ketu is in Cancer, which makes usually old souls with deep understanding of emotional needs of others, etc. So they're expert in such things, but sometimes they don't demonstrate very much. Okay, so let's go to the next case study. How are we with time? Because I don't want to get lost. Can somebody please give me an idea of how we are with time? Hello? Anybody?
Another 20 minutes is there. 25 minutes.
20 minutes? Okay, thank you. Okay, so Jerry Singh just became famous for me because maybe in India she was already famous. Mrs. Universe 2025, first time for India to see an Indian woman become Mrs. Universe. And she also won in 2025 the Mrs. India pageant. She has a master's degree in fashion. So her chart, let me see why I talk about Taurus. Yes, we'll see that later. The moon is in Taurus. Yes, Mrigashira. Okay. So the moon is in the degrees of Taurus because it also it could be in Gemini, right? Taurus, refined aesthetic, of course. She was a model, Mrs. India, but she didn't start off as a beauty pageant winner. She was a former basketball player, and she played on the India national team. So here we have a famous athlete, at least in basketball, and so her degree is in fashion, but she was a competitive athlete, and she had a winning mindset, right? What is Mrigashira? The planet that rules Mrigashira. We see the influence of Mars here very strongly, even more than Soma, which is the overlord deity, the deity overlord of Mrigashira. So Mrigashira is gentle, but it's also ruled by Mars. And here we see that her competition, her basketball achievements, right? She was on the national team. Wow, she was amazing. You don't make the national team unless you're a very, very good athlete. Of course, disciplined, the way Mars. So the emotional filter is Mars colors. Okay, that's for general, but I copy pasted. And her emotions and motivated her curiosity, adaptability, and action in her work. And so she was very disciplined, probably getting up at 5, going to the gym and lifting weights and etc. And which she still does, as I saw from her Instagram, one post on her Instagram. And also she is an advocate, right? So not only is she well known in fashion, but also in sports, and also she's an advocate for women. So Mrigashira is in Taurus, a feminine sign. So we see that interest in fighting for women. I don't know, in very gentle ways in her case, fortunately. So we can see the Venusian grace, so her Venus grace and Martian drive together. It's a beautiful combination because she's still very, very feminine and yet very, very successful in what she does. Okay, so Soma is the healing aspect of the moon god, and it makes the native a very gentle person, also a wanderer, a traveler, person loving to explore places, knowledge, etc. And then we have Mars in Pisces. So this makes her very passionate, very emotional. And you know that emotions are very important even in sports, and you have to control them. So this is not a wild Mars. She's able to channel that towards good achievements and success, etc. So Mars is in the 4th house, so she is Mrs. Universe, yes, but also she played for her national team, so her home country, her motherland here, the fourth house. So that makes sense. Okay, let's go and look. Let's go and look at the D10. Okay, so Mars is in its own sign of Scorpio, very, very strong, with Jupiter. So that's an amazing conjunction. They're friends, they're strong, high dignity. So let's see, from the moon, they're in the second house, which means that she's made a lot of money with it. They're strong. Usually Mars in the second house, unless it's good dignity, can cause trouble in finances. But here, second house from the moon, right? We're looking at the ruler of the Nakshatra with Jupiter. That brings my financial gains, especially Jupiter in the second house, but also Mars in high dignity, and Jupiter also high dignity with friendly Mars in the same sign. Okay. And so what did I say here? Mars is placed in D1, in Pisces. So it's a friendly sign for Mars, ruled by friendly Jupiter, and very positive, very much self-disciplined. And the inner discipline can be amazing with Mars in Pisces. So it's all about what's happening within, because Pisces are very introverted, and their strength is not visible outwardly. It's mostly inward. So they're introverted, but very powerful with a Mars in Pisces. Okay, so Mars in the second house, financial gains, transformative power. We know Scorpio is transformative, so we see that. On the Aries Lagna, we find Venus. Is that in D10? Yes, so Venus giving her so much beauty, right? Look, she's made a career out of it. And the Sun exalted. Even though Sun and Venus usually are not great friends, but together this is a powerful combination of an exalted Sun with Venus in the first house. So very powerful for a career. And she has won everything she's tried. So you know that already. Okay, so the Sun is the fifth lord. So this brings great success. And when her career is incredible for what she's chosen. So you see the emotional filter is there. You can see in its active form, in her athletic skills, in her discipline to become a Mrs. World, Mrs. Universe. I mean, imagine the discipline one needs for that, the exercise, the dieting, and the self-control, etc. So we see all that at work in this birth chart. Let's go to for some reason I chose a lot of athletes here. Okay, so we have Yanis, I don't know what they pronounce it in Italy, even though he's Italian, he has a German name because he's from was born in the Italian Alps, so North Italy, and is currently world number one in men's singles. And so he's recognized as the top ranker player in tennis, right? Many of you probably know him. He was born in San Candido. It's also called Iniken because in that part of Italy, they also speak German. Okay, so before rising to world number one in tennis, he was already a champion, a ski champion, since age 8. So look at this. We have his Saturn also in the first house. So his ascendant is Taurus, Saturn in the first house. He's very, very tall and very, very thin. So we have seen lots of discipline and drive in a very structured, patient way with Taurus, Saturn. So let's go orderly. So the moon is in Ardra or Arudra. Nakshatra, Ardra Nakshatra is one of the most transformative nakshatras. It's very intense, like very tough in a way, emotionally. It's ruled by Rahu, but it's not destructive, even though the archetype is Rudra, the fierce aspect of Lord Shiva. So there is destruction. What they demolish is their old structures, that keep them from achieving. So they are very, very successful when they can control their emotions, and they tear down what they don't need anymore. And they're very, very good. Most people, I know successful people with Ardra moon, and they're very self-disciplined, very, very cautious, but also they have that drive, which is amazing. So Ardra loves challenge, and they thrives under pressure. That's not for everybody, right? It's not for the what do we call it, for gentle people, but they succeed that way. And we can see this in either Janice or Yanis, I'm not sure. Sinner, so let's call him with his German last name. Okay, which doesn't mean sinner, by the way, as it does in English. It's a German last name. Okay, Ardra natives also love risk-taking because of Rahu and strategic thinking. They're very, very fast, right? Gemini is already fast, but Ardra particularly fast. That's why they have all these vata, energy, bursts of energy, and they do amazing, brilliant things, and then they have to calm down. And that's how tennis is, right? It's a little unpredictable. There's a burst of energy if you play tennis, if you've watched it. And then there's quite nothing goes on for a few seconds or even minutes. Okay, so Rahu sharpens curiosity, risk-taking. And let's look at the emotional filter. Also cool-headed calculation. Gemini, Mercury, right? There's calculation. And it's quite cool-headed, even though Rahu can be explosive. In this case, no, Rahu is quite self-controlled. And they're mentally detached, even under high-pressure situations. So Rahu colors his emotions and motivates innovation, unconventional thinking is there, and resilience. Those are very important. And they give him an edge, right, in chaos, crisis, etc. Okay. So let's look at this birth chart. If you want to build, I don't know if I gave you the data. If you can see, it's a small screen here, but born on August 16th, 2001 at 12:52 a.m., so 00:52 a.m., and in San Candido, in Niken, Italy. Okay. And the time of birth is correct. I like to see these 2 minutes there. 52. Okay. All right, let's look at this birth chart. As we said, Saturn is there in the first house. Lots of discipline there. Second house, wow. I've never seen such a busy second house. Rahu, Jupiter, Moon, and Venus together. Talking about self-control for a restless Gemini moon. Everything happens through Rahu here. Look, Rahu rules the nakshatra. Without Rahu, expensive Jupiter expanding all that vata around. Of course, there's positivity, love for beauty, and earnings through his work. Okay, so we see, let's go in the D10 and see what Rahu is doing there. Wow, Rahu is in a great position. It's in Virgo, right? Second house. Sometimes the Rahu in the second house gives ups and downs in finances. In this case, D10, amazing. Look at that, it's in Virgo. And where is Mercury? Mercury is in the fourth house. So it's been very good for Italy, for his home country, for his motherland. He makes money through his focus in career in his homeland, but he's also an international athlete, but very, very good for Italy because he plays for Italy. So what else do we see here? Mars again in the D10 is in Pisces. So Mars in Pisces, again, an introverted yogi, very disciplined, sleeps 3 hours and goes inward. But it can also have athletic skills, right? And he has lots of it, lots of skill. Okay, so the moon in D10 is with Jupiter, gracious Libra, the third house. So competition through grace. He's very elegant. If you look at him between tennis matches, he's always dressed nicely. Of course, he has sponsors of Gucci, all these brands, Loro Piana, etc. So he wears very nice clothes. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else I want to see about this, and then we'll move on to the final case study. Rahu in the second house from Leo, ascendant, brings a relentless hunger for recognition, resources in his professional life. Unconventional speech and presence. Yeah, so that can, if you hear him speak, you'll see that. He's not afraid to stand out, though. He's very powerful in the way he comes across, still elegant as a person, but also innovative, unusual, eccentric somewhat. Okay, so what else did I want to say here? Virgo is connected with health, routines, and nervous system. He has probably variable appetite. I did not find out, and I don't read sports publications, but seeing his Vata type, Saturn in the first house, Rahu here in Virgo also can give variable appetite, but in D10 it will have more an influence on career. So let's see the next case study, because so we don't run out of time and there's time for questions. I love this case study. I came across it almost accidentally. I was watching something on Gaia, and I loved this interview. John Robbins. Do you know Baskin Robbins ice cream? So the father was a self-made billionaire with the ice cream business, ice cream industry. And he was a different kind of person, different from his family, and he didn't care about money. And he actually was very emotional and suffered a lot because his father was very strict, unavailable emotionally, not present at all, not demonstrative, not affectionate. And this kid had huge problems because of that. He also had a little cat. His mother was equally distant and cruel. Actually, you can see that from the chart. I don't want to offend anybody, but this is John Robbins passed away in 2025. So I believe his mother might also not be around. But anyway, I don't want to, I'm just speaking strictly from an astrological point of view. So please forgive me. The mother killed the cat. That was his only friend. And that's how he was able to survive that solitude, because he was a very rich kid. He had staff around, but he never had friends. His parents were not around. And he had this cat that he loved. And every time his mother would put him out, then finally the mother killed the cat. That was tragic and traumatic, of course. All right, so let's look at this chart. The birth chart, D1. Okay, the moon is in Purva Bhadrapada. So it's a fierce nakshatra, but also very sattvic. And it's so Jupiter, right? The highest wisdom, and it's also quite spiritual, also idealistic. And so why did I tell you so much about his life? So you will understand from his birth chart why I'm saying that. So Mars is debilitated in Cancer and with Saturn. So that shows the difficulties with the mother and lack of communication and also emotional exchange there. He wrote a very famous book that changed the mindset of many, many people. It was called Diet for a New America. It was published in 1987 and became a bestseller, and became a tribute to nature. So he left his parents' home quite young, in his early 20s, I believe, and he went to live on a cabin on a mountain, I forget, maybe Canada, I don't remember, with his wife. They left everything. They had almost no money. They grew their own food. So he lived very, very close to the earth and was an advocate for nature, very gentle man, very, very idealistic man. And the book earned him a Pulitzer Prize nomination. So, of course, he was a vegetarian, and it changed also his father. The father was dying from diabetes and bad diet, eating a lot of ice cream, surprise, surprise. And through the book of his son, even though he despised his son, he said, "You're good for nothing," etc. But he came around towards the end of his life, and his own doctor gave him the book of his father. Sorry, gave him his son's book, even though the doctor didn't know that was his son, and said, "You should read this book; it will save your life." And so the father took this book, but never said, "That's my son. The author is my son." And he changed his diet and lived many more years after that. So it was a good book for him. And suddenly he started to have an appreciation for his son. So why am I telling you so much about this emotional aspect of his life? The moon in Purva Bhadrapada, Jupiter colors his emotions and career approach with wisdom, vision, and so wisdom is fundamental here, right? He had the wisdom. He saw that money was not everything. Also, health was everything. As we say, health is wealth, right? He was more advanced, evolved than his parents. So he was able to save the family, at least the father. I'm not sure about the mother. So let's look at the birth chart in details. So Purva Bhadrapada has, I forgot what this is called, Yajamana Udyamana Shakti. What is that Shakti? It's the energy to uplift and transform. My guru has Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra, so I quite love it. I love Purva Bhadrapada. And they can uplift and transform crowds, both in Aquarius and Pisces. But in Aquarius, there's humanitarian, like wanting to work in the world, to save the world, that kind of intelligence and the desire. So it brings the power to move things forward and create awakening and taking charge. So to create this change, they actually do things. They don't just have these beautiful ideas. They actually take charge. They take action. So I love that nakshatra. It's fierce, but again, very, very sattvic. So in D1, Jupiter is with Scorpio, in the fourth house. So because we're looking for Jupiter, right? Jupiter rules Purva Bhadrapada. So whereas Jupiter, again, it's in Scorpio with Ketu. So there we have an idealistic and almost like a mystic in a way, but with deep emotions, deep desire for love, deep desire for connection, very, very sensitive. And this is like a yogi, basically. And he was exactly like that. He was a very idealistic, noble person. So Mars is debilitated with Saturn. We saw that created problems with the mother. In the one, Venus is in its own sign of Libra, which brought him fame, honor in society, and a very loving nature, a spiritual outlook too. The father, of course, the father figure, the debilitated son can show that. But then again, he came around. Excuse me 1 second. I'm back. All right, let's see. So in D10, Jupiter is in conjunction with Mars. So that's powerful. In Virgo. Okay, what is that? Health, writing, authors, right? Fifth house, past life intelligence. Okay. So we see that this method of looking at the planet that rules the nakshatra in the D10 works. You can also try it in the D9 if you like, the spouse chart. When I say spouse, I mean generally relationships. It's not only for official marriages. It's in general the relationship chart, the main relationships. So Jupiter with Mars brings an author. Look at that, a successful author too. Very disciplined, very detail-oriented, very much in this desire of Virgo, healing people, very gentle, very loving, but at the same time there is an orientation towards health, writing, intellect, etc. Exactly as he seems to have been from the interview I saw and also from his birth chart. All right, let's see if anything else needs to be said about this. In practical terms, it's the inner fire that leads to breakthrough, leadership, and spiritual awakening. 1 second. Sorry, I need to say something. Where are we? Okay. So let's look now in general at the results and these emotional filters according to Nakshatra and the planetary lord. Okay, so for example, Uttarashada is ruled by the sun, just randomly. We're not going to go through all the nakshatras, but if your nakshatra is ruled by the sun, there are 3 for each planet. Career thrives when you lead, inspire, and act with integrity. So the emotional filter is what? The sun. What is the sun? The leader, the father, right? The politician, the king. Okay, so your emotions are tied to recognition. So you like to be recognized, otherwise you lose that emotional drive. And you want to be honored. Who doesn't, right? We all want to be loved and respected, but particularly those with an nakshatra ruled by the sun, they need that. It's very important for them to have that emotional fire, that emotional help, that flow. Okay, so when the moon is the lord of the nakshatra, there is empathy, there is intuition, and so you can choose a career through your what doesn't make any sense sometimes rationally, but it's an emotional, an intuitive reason for choosing that career. 1 second. Can we go to the previous slide, please? Previous slide. Yes, thank you. Okay, so we saw the moon. There is intuition. Those are the main emotional tools we use. So the emotional connection at work is very important, like getting along with co-workers and also leaders who are respectful and kind. Okay, then we have Mars, action, challenge, and drive. Those are the things that motivate you. Mercury, there's stimulation, there's communication, flexibility, and just quite intellectual though. And boredom is your enemy. So if your nakshatra is ruled by Mercury, you can be easily bored, like Revati, for example. Okay, excuse me. So we are Mercury, Jupiter. The wisdom will be present, and their teachers. Sometimes you love people with Jupiter and nakshatras love to teach, and they are used to guiding others with more wisdom than average. So you'll see that there's growth, and there's a lot of positivity also involved. Venus is Lord, beauty, harmony, luxury, creativity. So maybe fashion, working in fashion or in beautiful real estate or decor, home decor, design, arts, etc. Okay. or some other luxurious workplace. Saturn, it's the opposite. There's more duty, responsibility, lots of seriousness, but the person will not give up, even if there's setbacks. So Saturn nakshatras are very dutiful, and they don't give up, and that is the reason why they're really, really successful. Pusha or Anuradha, etc. Okay, so Rahu. Now we have a different attitude with Rahu, because Rahu is changeable, eccentric, innovative. And so Rahu people, nakshatras ruled by Rahu, sometimes don't mind the risk. They are actually inspired by the possibility of motivated by the risk. So they'll be very unconventional in their career choice. Not always. Sometimes they'll be, though, structured too. Depends on the sign, but in general, you'll see those qualities. And Ketu. Ketu is interested in what? Service, and also they're quite intuitive. There's detachment. For example, Ashwini, they're leaders, but they're quite detached because they are more into service. They're the Ashwini Kumars. They love to heal. They love to inspire. They are spiritual very often. So you'll see those qualities pretty much. So do your own research. Of course, this is not set in stone. It's based on my point of view and also my 15 years of studies in Jyotish and Vedic studies. So my Vedic studies are way longer than that. So I love the Vedas, of course, like most teachers here. Okay, so let's go to the final slide. Let's talk about remedies, because not everybody gets such peachy, beautiful, successful combinations, right? Where the nakshatra lord is well placed with beautiful, friendly planets in good houses, etc. So if you're not happy with your career and what's happening, so you can do remedies for your nakshatra lord, which is, if it's the sun, you want to use those quantum sounds. We call them mantras traditionally. Mantra means that device that protects the mind, the protector of the mind. So once you replace negative thoughts with these sounds, you'll change. Your brain is rewired in 5 minutes, scientists are saying now. Very quickly, you can rewire your brain. Or I like to say you can rewire the mind because of the moon. The moon is the mind. Okay, so Om Suryaya Namaha is the main mantra for the sun. There are so many others, but there's the Gayatri, for example. You can chant that too. And the archetype is Lord Shiva, Om Namah Shivaya. So pretty universal. Then we have the moon, Om Chandraya Namaha, Lalita Tripura Sundari, and you can chant to her Om Lalita Tripura Sundari Ye Namaha, or another goddess, Parvati, for example, if you like that better. It can also be Durga if there is negative influence from other planets. So Durga is quite fierce. You can use that archetype. It's fine also. Okay, now we have Mars. Om Mangalaya Namaha, Muruga. You can say Hanuman, but I say Muruga because I'm very close to Muruga as archetype. I love Muruga. And you can say Muruga's mantra is also, of course, Subramanya. Some people know him as Skanda, and there are so many. Kartikeya is the ruler of Kritika, and also, in a way, I associate him with the Pleiades star cluster because of the Tamil Siddhas who have said that Muruga is from the Pleiades. Okay. Also Vishaka Nakshatra is associated somewhat with Muruga. Mercury, Om Budaya Namaha, Vishnu, right? Lord Vishnu, the cosmic being. Om Namo Narayanaya is the mantra, main mantras. I'm going with the basics. And Venus, we have Om Shukraya Namaha, Lakshmi, and Om Lakshmiye Namaha. Saturn, Om Shanicharaya Namaha. Hanuman, Om Hanumate Namaha. You can pick and choose, okay? You can find another mantra of that planet, but stay with the planet. So honor the planet that rules your nakshatra, your moon. And then we have fire rituals. So fire rituals are very, very powerful. You're using gamma rays. It's like a remote control, I say. You connect with that being. And also Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita talked about a parasparam, the reciprocal connection, relationship you have with a being. They have to help you. You take care of them, so you invoke them, you love them, you see them as friends, or you see them as a father, mother, the way you like. The closer the connection through your interaction, and also the including the senses, the hearing, so the mantras, the sound waves, and also the smell, the incense, and the food that you offer. So it's like a person who comes to your house. You give them, a nice drink and some delicious food, etc., and then you have nice conversation. You show some appreciation. Hopefully, you like them, you love them even. So you can do that with the archetypes. They are beings. I believe they're real beings who exist, either in other dimensions or in other worlds, other galaxies, etc. Call them ETs, whatever resonates with you, that's fine. But just interacting with these beings can really, really change your life. I know from personal experience, from my clients, myself, etc. So I would take it seriously. That's what the sages told us. And they were quite intelligent, as we were saying earlier with Suprajarama, that there's a lot of intelligence. The rishis, the sages who talked about Vedic astrology, who wrote about Vedic astrology, they were mathematicians, incredible astronomers, quantum physicists. So the Vedas were quite advanced, and the cosmology is so advanced. All right, so that's my presentation for today. And if there are any questions.
That was a wonderful session, Lalitha ji. Let's open the floor for question and answers. Yes. And to our viewers, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. We'll try to take as many as time allows.
What mantras can one chant for Rahu? Oh, oops, did I skip those? Om Rahave Namaha is a good one. Om Rahave Namaha. And for Ketu, Om Ketave Namaha. Of course, also honoring the overlords of Rahu, right? It's Durga in the tradition I follow. So you can do fire rituals to Durga and also get good results with Rahu, because she is the overlord, this goddess, this fierce goddess who controls Rahu. And for Ketu, it's Ganesha. So mantras to Ganesha, fire rituals to Ganesha are also good remedies. Siddhanta. Is there a pattern to particular career fields being suited to people born in particular nakshatras? According to the deities governing the nakshatra, also just like planetary lords? Yes, it's a great question, exactly, Poonam. Nakshatras, I have some tendencies. Let me give you an example. As I said earlier, to give a simple example, Chitra people can be architects, they can be artists, they can be diplomats, they can be people in a luxury industry. So they have an orientation, definitely. Also, the planet that governs them is the emotional filter of how they perceive their profession, how they stay, in that case it's Mars, they stay disciplined, they be go-getters. They will not just sit there and wait for everything to be done. They will build their own success and career. So yes, every nakshatra has an orientation and you can choose accordingly. And there are texts you can consult, or even doing a Google search, and now even GPT, I'm not sure about Vedic astrology, but in general, you can find information online. or consult an astrologer, Vedic astrologer.
Okay. I think those were the questions that we had. Thank you again for the
Thank
viewers.
you. It's wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Lalitha ji, I would like to, tell a few words. I personally like the case studies on how you showed the career and emotional aspects with D1 and D10. That was very insightful, I thought. And as you spoke, I'm sure all the viewers and, I was also thinking of my own chart or the client's charts. How, in my opinion, these sessions, that's what makes it so easy and, engaging and meaningful. And we truly appreciate your time and the clarity with which you share.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. And also, it's such a simple technique. Or even beginners can try that, right? If you have access to the divisional charts, especially the D10, that's so important. We spend most of our time working, most people.
That's true. That's true. Because I mean, the career and profession is so important, and it's almost part and parcel of our life. And I think it is really indeed very interesting for our for budding astrologers to actually understand how it actually relates, and especially with moon, that was a very wonderful correlation, I thought.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Thank you.
Good
And first,
sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
You finish your thought, please.
No, I just want to hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was, that's what I was wondering, because the moon's nakshatra, not a lot of people cover that. So I thought that was a very good correlation. Usually we see the Rashi and, we move on, a Rashi chart and move on, right? So that was very nice, in my opinion.
Oh, thank you. So again, it's a simple technique that you can go as far as you want, very, very deep, or keep it simple. Just look at the planet that rules your nakshatra. And so that gives a lot of insights and even predictions, because you see how is that planet doing, right? So Venus is debilitated right now. It will shift soon. So you'll notice a difference, right, for your nakshatra if it's ruled by Venus.
That's true. That's true.
But
yeah. Thank you.
Also, Purvashada, they will notice an improvement tomorrow when the moon moves into, Venus moves in its own Libra sign, sign of Libra. It becomes very strong in, well, relationships will be better. And also just like in general, the mood for everybody, because it's not just the moon that brings mood, it's also the planets, how they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Will be there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for joining in so early.
Happy weekend, everybody.
Happy weekend, yes. And to our viewers, we'll meet again tomorrow, 2nd November, for our finale session with Dr. Nemani for a deep dive on Pushkara Navamsha. So hope to see you all there. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and continue your journey of learning with an open mind. Dhanyavadaha.